What's wrong with the LGM buff? You had no problem taking Vatherion out back and shooting it. Clutch Squad, what is up? And welcome back to the Perkaholics Anonymous podcast for episode number 25. It's Jeff, MZC here with me as always. Today, we got a lot to talk about. A lot of Season 2 content for Black Ops 7 Zombies. What it means moving forward. Our opinions, our thoughts. A little bit of discussion on DLC 2, obviously. And yeah, just some general housekeeping and miscellaneous topics that me and MZC wanted to hop on and discuss for you here in episode 25. 25 episodes deep. Guys, if you didn't catch episode 24, we revamped the membership tiers. We have a tier known as Perkaholics. If you want more Perkaholics Anonymous podcast content, if you want 30 extra minutes to each show, if you want additional episodes every month, make sure you sign up for that membership tier over on MZC's channel. There's a join button down below. When you're going down there to hit the like button, when you're going down there to comment, when you're making sure you're subscribed, hit that join button. This week's episode of Perkaholics Anonymous Podcast After Dark, me and MZC playing a couple of games of Haven's Hollow for Resurgence. That should be fun. All right, MZC, with all that out of the way. First of all, how are you doing?
And
are you excited? How excited are you? Scale of 1 to 10. DLC 2, Season 2, everything, everything involved.
I'm ready to get the content rolling again, man. It feels like it's been a little bit here, coming off the winter break into a little bit of I'd say a down period. Not too much has been added to the game recently outside of the Fallout LTM. So I'm kind of ready for the content to pick back up, and honestly, we'll talk about this. This comes into the DLC 2 coming with Reloaded talk, but it seems like they've chosen an earlier gap in content this year as opposed to a later gap, which I actually think is a smart idea from them. I know it's kind of a if you're a live service fan and you're playing the game all year, it is a little bit annoying to have a map drop and then basically 3 weeks later get another map and then kind of get not too much anything crazy, at least for like a month and a half, 2 months. But again, I would rather have that happen, especially over like a winter break. We're already gonna have a natural down period than get 3 months in between Reckoning and Shattered Veil and just have nothing going on for a while. So I think you share that same sentiment too. You think that like the content spacing's fine as long as it picks up a little bit, or would you rather have seen kind of like a little bit more in this little down period here in between? I'd say like let's go like season 1 launch and season 2, because Reloaded was Reloaded was okay.
Honestly, yeah, the Reloadeds are fine. I don't mind the content spacing out, but I think that this 115 day obviously is kind of like a zombies holiday at this point, and like a lot of stuff that they showed last week and what has trickled into this week too, and just what people have been talking about, like you've hit on something good here with the dev talks. People enjoy them. People like listening to them. It's a good amount of content from devs that we really haven't gotten in the past. This last one was like almost 7 minutes long, in between 6 and 7 minutes long. So it's like, hey, like you really hit a vein here where people talk about this type of stuff, at least in the online community. And it's like, hey, this is what we're looking at as far as a development team. This is the feedback that we're working with. This is what we want to reciprocate to the audience and to the player base. So I think they got to keep up with that. I like it. I don't want to be nitpicky. I really feel like they could do more of that. And, there might be less frequency, or the timing might have been weird with the holiday and, with not a whole lot of stuff going on in between Astra Malorum being released and now. But it's like, what is stopping them from kind of having those more often and having more of just an open dialogue, open channel of communication between the devs and the player base? Because, a lot of the stuff that we're going to talk about here early into this episode is from that, or what people observed from the dev talk. So it's interesting to see. I wish they would do a little bit more of it.
I agree with you. I think we first started talking about the dev talks when we had the big roundtable on right before the launch of Black Ops 7. And one of all of our biggest gripes was like, it doesn't really feel like they're talking with us. It's more of like talking to us in a very PR heavy edited way. 'Cause I think the original ones were like 2 or 3 minutes. They weren't anything crazy. And even it's kind of trickled this way over for Matt Scronson multiplayer. But I noticed with Kevin especially, it seems like the Zombies portions are a lot less edited. It's basically just Kevin kind of giving his unfiltered opinions, and we'll talk about a few of these here really quickly into the housekeeping. But yeah, I totally agree with you. I think the dev talks are great. I think that it's an amazing way to kind of calm the community a little bit, kind of keep the community hooked in the down periods, and I definitely want to see more of them moving forward. And I think that they, for the most part, are a really big plus. This time around, not like too much in terms of like big breaking news or anything crazy or nothing like that, but it is just nice to hear from them, kind of get their unfiltered opinions or their thoughts and where they're at in terms of like development and, you know, kind of get into the shoes of the developer, I guess. It'd be nice to see them like an unfiltered podcast too at some point, maybe here, you know, quick little plug for the podcast in the future. It'd be nice to get a dev on.
Sure.
But, you know, Kevin's been a pretty heavy guest over on the COD pod. And I like what they did with the last one. The last one was like very chill, very laid back. I like the idea of just like him playing a game of zombies and talking about things, but it's still pretty like, I'm sure they have a lot of like PR restrictions, and that wouldn't change if they were on you know, an outside podcast. But yeah, I definitely want to see more of those dev talks, and it'd be cool to get them, like even some other devs like out in the community just talking about their roles. Like I think my dream guest for the pod, if it could ever happen, maybe in between Black Ops 7 and the next game, would be Andrew Hoyt. I think it'd be so sick to kind of get into his mind, like the hours that he works and like what really goes into building the boss fights, because they've been kind of controversial this year after last year and even MWZ being like renowned for their boss fights. So far it's been kind of like, hey, they're good boss fights, but I wish it was like this, or it should have been changed to this or whatever. So it'd be kind of interesting just to hear his thoughts. But yeah, man, let's get into the housekeeping for the show. Most of this stuff is from that dev talk. The first bullet point I added today before we even before we got sat down here, but it's I think that Treyarch has actually buffed the Ultra Gobblegum earn rate. Definitely let me know your guys' experiences down in the comments below, what you guys have noticed with the Gobblegums, at least over the past weekend. I took a pretty big hiatus from zombies just to get the camo grind done for Nexus Horizon, and I started picking it back up pretty heavily on the daily the past few days, and I've gotten like 4 Perkaholics, 2 Raindrops, 2 Hidden Powers, 5 Wonder Bars, all from just, I don't know, maybe it's because I've been playing a little more Cursed to get some stuff done for some gameplay. Maybe it's I was, you know, just doing the Easter egg and I got some more that way. But I tweeted this out earlier, and Donut said he hasn't really seen anything. He thinks there might be some A/B testing going on. It's Perka said must be nice. He's only seen blue and purple gums this weekend. But for me, at least, I've seen like a major uptick in ultras, and I'm never going to complain about that. So if it stays that way, that's going to be awesome. If not, maybe there is something to like the people that play less of the game mode or have less time on zombies or little play time in the recent days. Maybe they juice your Gobblegums to try to get you coming back and playing a little bit more. Have you really been, I know we play a lot of Resurgence at night, and you have to take a little break from the camo grind because it can be pretty long, especially when you got other stuff going on. But have you noticed anything or not? Just kind of the same old?
I'm curious to get back in, honestly, because like yourself, I haven't really been playing a lot of zombies either. I think that's a lot of people, like, I think a lot of people can identify with that in the community too. Like after the Astra hype kind of wore off and you did everything you wanted to do on that map and you explored sufficiently, I don't know if a lot of people are prioritizing zombies if they do play other game modes. Obviously, if all you do is hop on and play zombies, I'm sure those people have been grinding nonstop. But I think, and they'll never come out and say this, me and you have always had these tinfoil hat theories about behind the scenes on how they do rewards and earn rates and stuff like that. I actually fully believe, and this is obviously my opinion, no confirmation, but I fully believe that they weigh your hours on the game, and if you have X amount of hours on other parts of the game, when you hop into zombies, I do think they juice your ultra and your legendary and your the gold, purple, and reds. I feel like they juice those up if you have time played on the game, but it's not zombies. So if you play 20 hours of Warzone and you don't touch zombies at any time during that 20 hours, I really do think the earn rates are different are amplified to incentivize people to play zombies more. It's like, oh, you hopped into this mode that you haven't really played recently, and they give you this cool stuff. I feel like that always happens to me when I take even if it's not that first scenario. If I take like 3 days off without playing zombies or 4 days off, I swear I come back and my gums are automatically better, or like rewards from TED tasks, or like I'm getting 2 perks from every TED task. I'm like, what's going on here? So it is interesting how they do the earn rates for stuff. There's no way to test those theories, really. It would be very difficult. You have to put a lot of scrutinization into the situation, but it's like they're never going to come out and say that. And you know, me and you have thoughts on everything, skill-based damage. There's all these different things that we could talk about as far as how they kind of tinker and tweak the game behind the scenes that we'll never know about.
100%. I think before we move on, it would be cool if they were to come out and say, hey, we're going to up the legendary and ultra Gobblegum earn rate in Cursed, or you know, like in a more hardcore setting like that, to almost not only incentivize people to play that way, but like, you know, let's say you are playing Cursed, you are playing Tier 3, you know, the harder the game mode, maybe the little bit better the rewards, even if it's just in terms of like the random gobblegums you earn. So that'd be pretty interesting. But I almost do think there is something to, like, if you haven't played a ton of Curse, maybe that's what the issue is here. Because I got a lot of gameplay for it today, because we're obviously going to be talking about some of the Season 2 content coming. And that's where it seems like a lot of my gobblegum rewards were coming from, or the random procs were coming from for the Ultras. So maybe maybe it's that. Maybe it is just like their game mode too, or, you know, trying to incentivize people to play that way. But back to the dev talk that they released. I think it was yesterday. One of Kevin's first questions that he was asked was, will the LGM1 get a buff? And I feel like I'm kind of vindicated here, because I've just been like punching my head against the wall for weeks, months now, being like, dude, this needs to get buffed. We need to see some sort of buff here. And so is the rest of the community. But that's one of the biggest hot topics, is like, hey, you know, can we get a buff to the LGM1? And they said that they're still evaluating the damage of it, but they're being cautious with it because it's an infinite ammo wonder weapon. And I almost like think the damage is fine. I think it just needs to spread to 2 or 3 zombies. Those are just my personal thoughts. Obviously, they're, you know, messing around with that stuff behind the scenes. They're obviously looking into that. But what do you think? Have you taken the LGM1 to 55, or have you used it recently? Because I feel like, again, it kills, just not like really fast. But it'd be interesting to see if they just like it immediately kills a zombie or vaporizes a zombie, and maybe there's like a slightly longer cooldown. I don't even, at this point, like if that's what they're looking at for the damage, I don't even know what they could do here to make it any better. But I mean, at least they're kind of listening.
Yeah, honestly, my one like relatively high round game of Astra, I didn't find myself using it, even though I did have it, which is like obviously disappointing because of how I feel about wonder weapons. And anybody who watches the show is gonna, you know, kind of know my stance on that. And I like them being strong. And I'm confused. This is the one thing that I'm at right now where I'm confused about the direction of the studio when it comes to zombies. I can't gauge what their priorities are when it comes to making changes. And is that like the end of the world? Is that like, oh, like this is a huge problem, this is a huge red flag? Not necessarily, but if you look at the community sentiment around major consensus issues, and once again, I don't know if the LGM being buffed really falls into that category, but for Astra Malorum, what else really is there? Like, you have to take it from a map by map context, you know, context is king. So, okay, Ashes of the Damned. Everybody was bitching about the boss fight. Okay, they turned around, they changed that. 48 hours, it felt like. Maybe it was longer, but it felt like it was like the same week. Was it not? Did they not turn around and do that really quickly?
I think it was like over the weekend, by like Monday or Tuesday. I think that was fixed, and after.
And yeah, the game came out on a Thursday. Yeah,
it was very quickly after there that they were able to get that.
Okay. All right, cool. What? And this is so funny. A lot of this stuff is going to coincide with the rest of the episode too, guys. So, you know, just we're getting through some stuff here. We're getting stuff off our chest, so bear with us, obviously. But it's like, okay, everyone's saying they want Cursed on survival maps. Well, all right, okay, like, yeah, we're gonna, and like I said, we're gonna talk about a lot of this too, so I might be jumping the gun here, but it's all relevant. Okay, that is a framing issue for me with the community, because you don't actually want Cursed on the survival maps, in my opinion. Very small percentage of people. Like, you don't actually want the relics, you just want how the mode plays. You just want the theme of Cursed on the survival mode, in my opinion, which that's totally fine. All right, that's basically confirmed, or that's coming, basically. But then it's like, Astra Malorum turns around, and the things that people are up in arms about, you're like haven't given definitives on. The LGM buff, and then segueing obviously into the next point we have with housekeeping with Oscar. So that's kind of my question right now. Like, hey, where's your head at? Where are your heads at when it comes to making changes? And what cues and what triggers are you listening to from the community about what things to adjust and to tinker with? That's my only kind of problem at the current moment.
I agree. I 100% agree with you. And I was thinking about this earlier while I was running through Curse to get the gameplay. Is like last year they were so anti hardcore player in Grief. Like, it was clearly we were making a lot of these changes initially.
That's a good point.
To basically cater to the casual fan for Grief. And like I'm not a dev. I don't have the answers. I'd probably be pretty frustrated too if like I, you know, was a dev and I put in something that was heavily requested, and then next thing you know, they're like, well, we actually don't like that, and like a flip-flopping back and forth. But you're 100% right where it's like, Last year it was, oh, we're going to cater to the casuals. And now it's like, to your point, you know, cursed survival and all these different changes coming to Cursed and all this dev time being put into Cursed isn't a bad thing at all. I like Cursed. I think it definitely has a place in the mode. But again, now we're like ignoring. I wonder if they're almost like, okay, we heard the complaints from last year about us catering to the casuals. Let's do everything the hardcore fans want. But they're almost ignoring, you know, what a lot of people would want, because I feel like that's something a lot of people, not just, you know, fans of Curse would want, but, you know, the casual players would want. So they're like, hey, are we going to really buff the LGM1 and spend all this dev time doing that right away if it's not really going to lead to a massive turnover and we'll just please the people that will play the game every day, versus, you know, make 2 sweeping changes of how the map plays with Oscar and the LGM1 and, you know, maybe bring some people back, or, you know, some people hang around and that's it, it's whatever, and then, you know, Cursed has to suffer for that. I don't really know, you know, I don't know the inner workings of the studio. I don't know how long it takes to get things done. Obviously, we keep referencing the Vaetherion nerf very early on in the game. I guess that could be a little bit of a different story because of how down bad the completion rate for it was, and, you know, there was a lot more uproar, there was a lot more people in the community at that point. It was the launch of a game. The launch is already naturally going to have a larger, you know, audience and voice there, so yeah, I don't know. I guess like you're right. It just seems like they're kind of at a crossroads with how they're evaluating.
I'm not getting the thought process though. Like, why are you, like, it seems like you're attempting to segment the player base into 2 totally different buckets. Like, it makes no sense. It actually, if you think about it, unless you're like, okay, the Curse player base is so unique and so different, even if it's smaller, the Curse player base is obviously going to be much smaller than your regular player base, and the people that play survival maps are probably going to be bigger than, you're probably going to have more people playing survival maps than the main maps. I think that's just the reality of the situation at this point. And if Liberty Falls taught us anything with player base numbers, that has definitely been the case. They haven't released anything like that, but I don't understand the crossover here. So like, oh, you know, the people that play Cursed are going to be your hardcore players, so they want that stuff on survival maps, so we're going to bring it to survival maps. But Vaetherion was so hard that the casual people who just play regular couldn't beat it, so we're going to nerf it. Those are 2 like working in opposite, they're working like opposing interests to me. And it's like, okay, let's take your line of thinking. Let's continue along that. Let's project it out into Astra Malorum. If you're segmenting it in between regular and Cursed, what's wrong with the LGM buff? You had no problem taking Vaetherion out back and shooting it, you know, and saying, hey, you know, this is cooked. Like, you're never going to have this level of difficulty probably ever again in a Call of Duty boss fight that's modern that I could think of. I don't know, unless you're considering Legion. You know, I know some people, you know, to this day still haven't beat Legion. Thankfully, me and you are not one of them, however, but it's like, you know, like, I don't get it. Like, why Oscar, it just seems like such a slam dunk 95-5 issue for the positive side to buff the LGM and make Oscar drop rewards. I'm not getting it.
Unless it just takes that much longer to mess around with. Like, I mean,
Oh, though, you're telling me Hoyt nerfed the boss fight that alleged, let's just say hypothetically, Hoyt just said, all right, I could take the boss fight down 50%, but we can't just turn the saucers up on the LGM.
The rockets obviously weren't launched as much in the boss fight, like the rocket attacks. They added more spawns for the plants. I think there was like damage there too. So again, I guess they just don't want to break the LGM1 to be like, well, now it's too OP and we're gonna have to nerf it, and then if we have to nerf it again, then it's a problem because people are gonna be like, oh, we were nerfing fun. Like, I guess you do have to do all the testing between Oscar himself and then Caltheris and everything else.
But throw the LGM out. It's like you can't just code, oh, Oscar in the code, oh, Oscar drops at random perk. You can't code that in.
Yeah, I was gonna get to that and be like, okay, you know, at least like a power up drop, or like a power up drop with like a 60% chance of a perk. My only thing there would be like, maybe it's because when you're doing the steps for the LGM1, maybe they can't figure out a way to split those Oscars from dropping something versus, well, that's not even true, because I played Curse today and it doesn't drop you the trinket because there's no side Easter eggs in Curse. So there's absolutely, I feel like it shouldn't be that hard to then not have.
Yeah, that feels like a cop out, honestly. But
yeah, I don't know. Again, I think I don't think it's very.
I don't care that much. No, like, I'm fine with Astra how it is, but it's like, maybe that's how they look at it too. Like, okay, maybe there's not a lot of strong feelings either way besides like a few people and me, and you just happen to be in agreement with both of these points. But yeah.
But here's where I won't stop punching the wall for the next 2 weeks, because they're dropping Mars Survival at the launch of Season 2, and that's going to have the LGM1 in the box. They confirmed that, and it's like, this needs to be good for that. Otherwise, nobody's going to want to high ground that map. Otherwise, no one's going to want to play that. I mean, people obviously will still play Mars. That'll probably still end up being the most, let's not get crazy here. That'll probably still be like the most popular survival map that they release up until maybe Nuketown if that comes out in Season 3, or if they have some other crazy ones down the line. But that'll probably be one of the most popular survival maps for the year, the one that has the most unique replayability, because it's not just a little walled off section of Ashes of the Damned or another one of these future maps. You have to go through like 70% of the Easter egg in Astra Malorum to even get to Mars. So this is going to be probably the most popular one they drop, at least for a long time here. And it's like, you just want this to be good while it holds people over for 3 weeks, or holds the fort down for 3.5 weeks until DLC 2 comes out. So that's why I'm like, you guys need to figure out this LGM1 buff within the next 2 or 3 weeks before this next map comes out. Otherwise, or the next round map comes out. Otherwise, people are going to be like, I don't even use the LGM1. It's not that good. I'd rather just get, ray gun, or I'd rather just get like, fireworks on my weapon and run around. Plus, there's not going to be any traps there. I think they need to. Even if
you're looking at around 50 in Exfil.
Yeah, exactly. Even if it makes Astra a little bit, even if it makes Astra a little bit easier, I think for the good of the entirety of not only Astra, but also the survival map that's coming, again, you're kind of banking on having people hold their retention over for a little bit. Obviously, there's some other cool stuff coming out too, but I think that's the main highlight for the Season 2 content, at least at launch, obviously. Gotta get that sorted out, whether it's spread the UFOs to 2-3 zombies, or up the damage to make them die a little bit faster so that you can kind of keep shooting into the horde and takes down the hordes a little bit faster.
Yeah.
At this point, I don't have the answers. I'm not the one behind the scenes testing, but I just personally feel like this needs to get done for the Mars survival map. Otherwise, we're gonna be in. It's not gonna be a problem. It's not, at the end of the day, is it really like game breaking? No. It's me just being, I don't know, I'm kind of getting to the point where it's like, I see people complaining every day on Twitter about something about Cursed or what needs to be changed here or there. I don't typically do that, but this is the one time, like, I'm just not going to let it go because I genuinely believe in it. It's like, this needs to stay this way. This and Grief, my once a year is that I'm like, this needs to be this way. I'm not going to, I'm not budging on this. Like, it has to happen. But yeah, moving into the last 2 quick points here for the housekeeping and the dev talk before we get into DLC 2 talk, Season 2, all that good stuff, is Kevin said that TED tasks, the spawn rate for those are going to be reverted. He said that change came from himself because he felt like the TED tasks were distracting from the core experience. And I can see where he's coming from, because like when it's every 3 or 4 rounds, it's like I'm dropping literally everything to go get this TED task done. But I feel like that speaks more so to the TED tasks themselves. Like, they're so good. You have the chance of the Mark II, the ray gun, 2 free perks, Pack-a-Punch Crystal, Ether Tool. Like, they're such a core staple of what this game is, especially what it was at launch. Everybody was doing, it didn't matter, every single time a TED task popped up, you could be at Janus Towers, it could be at the Cosmodrome. I'm taking the jump pads, I'm getting in testing, I'm going to do that because they're so good and because they're worth doing, especially with the inclusion of the perma perks. So I'm glad that they're walking this one back, but I do give Kevin some credit, basically being like, that's my call, we're just going to change it back because we heard everybody talking about it. And then the other last point here is that they're still looking into adding legacy weapons. They want to do this the right way. Again, it doesn't sound like it's imminent, like how Cursed Survival was being looked into. This, if I had to guess, would maybe be at like the next dead period. Let's say we have DLC 2 and Season 2 reloaded. Let's say we have DLC 3 and Season 3 reloaded, and then we don't have another one for like maybe 2 months. I could see that's when they have like some massive update to zombies where they're like, oh, all the legacy weapons from last year that are good can come into the game, and Grief is coming back. And that's when you have like more of a Season 2 launch dump where it's like you're getting these smaller pieces that are added to the game, but they'll add up over time, and you'll be like, hey, that was actually a pretty solid update. And that transitions us over into our first segment, which is that Treyarch has confirmed DLC 2 for Season 2 Reloaded, but also doubles down on content plans for the year. So my quick bullet points, and then we'll talk about this, is that Season 2 Reloaded is likely scheduled for late February, first week of March. So obviously a good, 5-6 weeks away, so it's still a long time here. But with the content and the stuff that we're getting and what they've confirmed, that we're going to be getting 5 DLC maps in total. You and I had a little bit of an argument about that in the last episode. So
you were right.
Confirmation there. We heard the same thing last year. I could have been wrong, where it's 5 DLC maps and the tomb is just a one-off, and it's it's just this little filler map, and it ended up not being that way. But yeah, the confirmation for 5 DLC maps is great. It means we're gonna have a lot to eat in the entirety of the year here. They said steady supply of survival maps as well, likely another one in Season 2. Weekly challenges, LTMs, obviously still going to be popping out here, and then we'll talk about this in a second. But what are your initial thoughts there with the because there has been a little bit of controversy. It seems like there's been a little bit of controversy with the release date for the next map, but and everything else included in that.
Honestly, it makes sense. I'm a little upset with it because I would have liked it sooner, but I know a lot of people who grind the game. I think it's fine, and I think I will be. I can look at stuff objectively. They get better every year with content release schedules. Like, this is clear cut, objectively. I really don't think you could argue the best content schedule that we're ever going to get for Call of Duty Zombies, likely until the next game. Like, there's so many things to do. There's so much stuff to grind. The survival maps, Cursed coming to survival, all this different stuff. So I think they're doing a great job with making sure that the game stays relevant. And I mean, that's their competitive advantage. I mean, you look around at studios like Battlefield and, other, some up and coming, games like Arc Raiders and stuff like that. Like, they're not going to be able to compete with the level of content and the live service asset that Call of Duty brings to the table. So I think that at the end of the day, it's ultimately fine for a Season 2 Reloaded. Some people are going to complain. Some people are going to be fine with it. You can't please everybody with that. And my real underlying point here is I know that they're all one studio at the end of the day. Like, everything is your Activision, Microsoft umbrella, but I really do believe that if you're a dev at the Zombies community in Treyarch, or in the studio at Treyarch, I think you're planning this game a little bit differently, because obviously last year was back-to-back and they had to find that out at some point, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit of, I don't want to say like pettiness, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit of behind-the-scenes strategery where it's like, hey, maybe we want to run this game a little bit further into Modern Warfare 4 than maybe we would have if it was a Treyarch game upcoming like we did last year. I'm not saying that's the case. I just kind of think that that's interesting, like that clearly the last DLC map is going to be very deep into this year, unless they cram everything into the back end and Treyarch or Activision goes, oh, hey, you got to put it out at this point because we're going to start marketing for Modern Warfare 4 this date. Which could be interesting to see. We'll have to see when everything releases, but I mean, if you're really getting 5 maps and the second map is only coming out late February, I mean, you're looking at this game's life cycle being into at least August, wouldn't you think? I don't know if you could run it any
August
deeper.
5th, I think. Last year,
I'm thinking end of August, maybe, or
maybe.
Early to middle of September. And Modern Warfare, does Modern Warfare 4 have a release date?
No, it's not even confirmed. I mean, it's I'd probably say like
late 2026, but
late October, like early.
Imagine if it's
again.
Imagine if it's the second week of October though, and we have a Zombies map coming out second week of September. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it's a really good point. The only other time that I've seen anything like that would be Chronicles. Like, they had Chronicles basically ready to go, and we're like, we're gonna.
Well, yeah, that's different though.
But they were like, we're gonna greenlight this if Infinite Warfare flops, because beforehand the PR was real bad for Infinite Warfare. Like,
right.
The game came out, even though it was actually a pretty decent game, all things considered. It was such a disaster that they had to attach Modern Warfare Remastered to it to try to get get to sell more copies. But that's almost, you're right. That does feel like there's some similarities here where it's like the PR for COD has been so bad. Obviously, the brain deads on Twitter are like, oh, I'm waiting for MW4. What the fuck are you waiting for? This is literally the most content-packed game they've released in the last 10, 15. It might be the most most content-packed game of all time in terms of Call of Duty.
Absolutely, has to be.
Why are we boycotting exactly what you asked for in terms of the content level and in terms of like the quality that you're getting here? This is like as good as it gets, I think, in terms of a modern Call of Duty or COD in general, especially for the free content. And it's like, oh, we're waiting for MW4, we're waiting for a return to grassroots, dude. Like, it's all right, whatever. You really think that,
Activision
gonna pop up and it's gonna be like it's gonna take down GTA?
Yeah, well, definitely not. Or worst case scenario for Activision is Infinity Ward goes to Activision is like, hey, we don't even know. Hopefully we have this game ready by, imagine like a really late COD launch. Imagine it like launches in like December or something. Like, hey, we don't even know if we could have this game ready for November. And then Activision has to go to Treyarch. Well, all right, push your content schedule back a month.
Dude, criminal. Dude, like, this is where, let's say we
could
don't
be
have
true
zombies
though
until 28, 29. one of those years. But what if it's the same thing where you're coming off of a really bad sales year with Black Ops 7, you're moving into Modern Warfare 4, and that flops too? What's the old reliable? Hey, Treyarch, break out the Chronicles, break out those extra zombies maps. We're selling them $30 a pop. Whether that's actually BO3, BO4 Chronicles, I think that's a little less likely, but I could totally see them pulling the move where they're like, hey, Cold War, BO6, lump that shit together.
Oh, dude, Cold War is going to be 8 years old at that point.
Dude,
7, they could definitely remaster everything from Cold War and bundle it and be like, hey, here's shit, $30, might be 60.
Storyline going into.
Like, they got all the mechanics ready to go.
Yeah, dude, it's all right there. I think that's. I don't think
your gobblegums carry over from Black Ops 7. Like, imagine.
Exactly. I think that it's not. The Black Ops 6 maps, I think it's a lot easier for them to do. That's just Control C. In my personal opinion, I'm not a dev. I don't fucking. Obviously, there's a lot of different quality of life things that have changed from BO6. I bet if you went back and played BO6, you'd probably be like, dude, this, like, not that it sucks, but you'd be like, damn, a lot has changed from last year, you know, like the core mechanics and whatnot. But I know Cold War is going to be a lot more difficult of an ask there. That's definitely not just, hey, we poured the maps over. That's basically building the maps from ground up, I think, with all the new things that they've changed since Cold War, which we knew there was a lot of differences between that and BO6. But I think at like best case scenario, maybe if MW4 doesn't do too well, then they're just like, hey, here comes BO6 carry forward, and here come the legacy weapons. Here comes everything from, you know, that was left out. Because I mean, we already have all the augments from last year. We've already got the ammo mods. We've already got all the score streaks. That's just seems like it was Control C, Control V on in the game. I think Chronicles 2 with the BO6 maps would probably be best case scenario if next year does flop, but. I don't know. We'll see what happens. It's definitely interesting, and the whole Chronicles 2 is definitely another, you know, video for another day and another couple of podcasts. I'm sure we could get on that. But before we get into the rest of the Season 2 content, there was a slight teaser for DLC 2, which is showcasing like some children's drawings, kind of reminiscent of like Sam's drawings from Black Ops 3, and it was just the warden sitting on his throne. That part was like live action. That's kind of pretty sick. I think it's like the same image that we've seen from right after the Time Master dropped. So that might be like the boss fight. Who knows? Maybe we're fighting the warden. In this one, we take down the warden, and then there's like another big bad that pops up for the last few maps, and that's the big plot twist. There are 2 little girls in the drawings. One is like a, you know, normal looking one. One's more of a demonic looking one. Could be foreshadowing Jensen and the entity from MWZ finally making a return after, you know, a year and a half of us waiting, wondering. It seems like Nuketown pretty much is confirmed there from the nuke. And then there's also, next to a drawing of the warden, another warden looking figure, but it's not exactly him. Possibly could be the Shadow Man. It's got the same hat. I don't know. Obviously, that's, you know, kind of a, I don't know if we're going to be seeing that this early on in the game, but very interesting, though, that there is another possible warden out there that kind of looks like the Shadow Man. And I've always theorized that the warden isn't really the big bad. He's just serving the main guys. So that'll be interesting. But again, not too much is known about DLC 2 as of right now. But the Season 2 content they did confirm. First up, we talked about this a little bit earlier. Mars Survival, 100% confirmed. The rewards for this are going to be Caltheris-inspired cosmetic rewards for round challenges, kind of just like we saw with the last few survival maps. I think it's a Gobblegum, like a weapon charm, in like what is it? The emblem. Is there anything else you get for those? I think those are the only 3 things that you get.
No, I think so. That's cool though. I enjoy that. The survival maps to 50, and that's like an instant do for me. I think it's so fun, and I think it's like it's pretty simple, but it's like, hey, you get pretty cool stuff for that. They've definitely done a better job this year with rewards and stuff like that too, and even for the directed mode stuff. Like I don't have either of those directed mode skins, but I commend them for doing that at least, and thinking of, hey, how do we get people to at least hop into these modes?
Yeah, and weapon charms might not be as cool for some people, but I mean, we talk about this a lot, and we'll talk about this more in the After Dark tonight, is like, we love decking out our weapons when it's time to play ranked multiplayer or ranked Resurgence or just Warzone or multiplayer in general. Like, it's a cool flex for us as Zombies players or Zombies mains to go over to those other modes and be like, oh, you got to watch us shit on you in the kill cam, and we've got a Caltheris charm or, you know, something like that. So it's just, you know, really decking out the weapons. I think they're pretty cool personally. It's nothing crazy. It's not a whole skin, but it is pretty nice that like the majority of people that play the other modes probably aren't going to have those. But the other two things they confirmed for the Mars survival map, obviously LGM1 Wonder Weapon, please buff that before then. And then they said no Oscar, which I know a lot of people were kind of like on the fence about that. So this could be potentially the first map to not feature an elite zombie or an elite enemy. But there is also the possibility that we do get Uber Klaus because it is the exfil enemy for that map. So that'll be really interesting to see what they do there. If they're just like, hey, you know what, we're going to just run zombies only, and this is going to be more of a chill survival map where you can just hop on and have some fun, or we're going to throw you an Uber Klaus and you're going to get bent over by poor Oobs.
Imagine like obviously less health, but imagine like one of the phases of Caltheris being the elite on that map.
That'd be kind of, dude, that'd actually be kind of nuts. The first phase of Caltheris where it's just like the little weak link.
I don't think they would do that, but that would be pretty cool. That would be pretty sick.
It's actually a lot easier to kill Caltheris in directed mode. I just got that skin the other day, and like the health is nothing.
Yeah, it's easier.
It's like a 4-minute boss fight, so that would actually be pretty interesting to see them add in there. But yeah, wow, that's actually, I think that'd be kind of cool. Definitely give the map a little more life.
But going up to this, just really quick to kind of double back on the DLC 2 teaser, I think me and you haven't really talked about this like one-on-one, but I'm in agreement with you. I don't think if they're bringing up the Warden again, like in cinematics and stuff this early, and when I say early, it is obviously DLC 2, but it's like if you have 3 more maps behind, there has to be a bigger bad than him.
100%.
Like he's not going to be the end guy. And it seems like, and I don't know what you've seen, and I haven't really been following that closely along, but these 2 girl souls that are on each map seem very heavily connected with the story. Have you heard or seen anything about that? Or do you think that's kind of like a red herring, like look this way, but that really has nothing to do with anything?
What, like the cursed announcer, or what do you mean? Like,
no, like the, you know how it's like I mean, people look at it as a side egg, but isn't there like the 2 like dancing girls? Aren't they on both maps?
That's actually pretty, I know that's probably not, that could be good foreshadowing, though. Yeah, you're 100% right. There are like the ghost girls or the ghost. Yeah. They are both there.
That's interesting to me because they're on, because it seems like a consistent thing that they're going for.
You know, back in the old days of like BO3, BO2, BO4, I think people probably would look more into that and be like, oh, this is, you know, who are these people that are following us around the dark ether? Who are these lost souls? You know.
It might be in the intel too. We just don't. I don't look at the intel.
But yeah, no, back in the day, I feel like there'd be a lot more speculation on those because, like, I feel like we were all a lot younger. It was a lot more fun to speculate, and people wouldn't call you an idiot in the comments if you were wrong about something or no, you know, this has to be this way. You know, like it's.
Let us know in the comments if you know. If you do read the intel, let us know.
Right. No, but that would kind of foreshadow or tie into. I don't think it is Jensen in the entity, but it would definitely foreshadow that maybe that's where we're headed for those. But so it's a good call. I didn't really think about that at all. But yeah, I'm hoping, like you said, I think there's a bigger bad period. Like I said, I still think this game's ending in the Great War or in like the multiverse being restarted. And the next game, it's the Shadow Man Monty hybrid or the Shadow Man and Monty. We got to try and fight or something like that. But it would be interesting if like DLC 2, major plot twist. And I think it would actually suck a lot of people into the story if we killed the Warden and then it's like revealed that the Shadow Man is like lurking and the next game is Monty. Like that, I think that's where I'd be like, holy shit, this is like, we're really picking up here. This is crazy. But if it's one of those things where like you fight the Warden and he gets away, then I kind of be like, like, I don't know, not that we're like prolonging the thing here, but it was almost like for people to watch Stranger Things, season 4 you go up against Vecna, and then season 5 it's still Vecna. Like obviously there's not, that's a little bit of a different analogy there, but I don't know, it's like, why would we fight the Warden, or why would we, you know, expose the Warden, take down the Warden just to have him, you know, dust himself off and be like, all right, well, now you got to catch me in 3 more maps and then we'll have another big fight here at the end. So that would, I'm hoping for Monty. I think that'd be so sick. I think I need him to go all in here. I need him to bring it all the way back.
I agree. Just send it. You got 2 years off probably, at
exactly.
1 year off minimum. I mean, if they double back, and I mean, 2027 COD is up in the air, obviously, but 26, I don't think they're going to run another Black Ops game in 27 after what they saw this year. So, I mean, if you're legitimately looking at 1.5, 2 years before you even start getting anything, and you're not 100% certain on the Chronicles 2, you might as well just go out with a bang. And okay, if everybody hates it, which everybody friendly reminder to everybody in the comments, maybe not everybody, I'm not talking to our audience, because for the most part I think our audience is pretty astute and can look at things at both sides of the coin and, you know, take their opinions and have pros and have cons, but a lot of people couldn't stand Primus coming back. Welcome to one of the biggest memes, and it's like, oh, now you haven't heard anything about that in 6 months. You haven't heard anything about that in a half a year. So you might as well go balls to the wall. Oh, dude, I would love. I would love to see how much revenue they made off of that Richtofen bundle the first 24 hours it was out. I would love to see it.
I have not seen one bundle review. I didn't see very many people posting Takio bundle on social media when that came out, but the amount of like, oh, here's the inspect for the LGM1 bundle on the Richtofen thing, or I hear like flexing the Richtofen skin. I'm like, bro, this probably just brought in at least 10 grand minimum. Like, easily. Heavily purchased bundle, not only from the zombies community, but I'm sure there's Warzone or multiplayer fans. They're like, yeah, this reactive skin goes pretty hard. Even if they're not even going to touch the blueprints that you get, which, again, on the blueprints and the LGM1, they have the Group 935 logo there. I refuse to believe that they do something like that just for shits and giggles.
That's sick.
They're like, oh, we're just putting it on there. I think that's obviously a little bit more
that's sick.
Canonizing Group 935 coming back at some point this year. So yeah, I think that from this map on, I think we'll see more and more of the old storyline kind of seep back into it. Like last map, we get the original Pack-a-Punch machine from the OG storyline. We get Shangri-La and Mars, the Templar zombies. I think as the year goes on now, we just start seeing more and more and more of it. And I'm here for it. I think, like I said, when it's done right, we talked about this a little bit last episode, when it's done right and it's, it fits the story and the narrative isn't bad and everything else, the content's coming good, who cares? I'm ready for it. And honestly, I hope this all ends in the multiverse coming back in the next game. You really can start talking about potentially Chronicles 2 when it's, 15 years down the line from when it came out. So we'll obviously have some more discussions about Chronicles and all that shit later on this year and into the gap years and whatnot. But moving on to the last little bit of the content that we have coming in Season 2. At the launch, we have Cursed Survival. This was heavily requested on Twitter. I'm a little indifferent. I really will enjoy just base Cursed Survival. I think that after playing Cursed again today for the first time in like a week or two, having like the mimic spam, having all the different, like debuffs for the relics is gonna put off a lot of the casual players that might just, I think that like Cursed Survival just spawning in itself with the pistol, the box, the ult point system is going to be very, very popular, and I think it's going to help kind of boost Cursed a little bit, but I don't know how much it's really going to boost people being like, oh, I want to go get the relics to be able to get golden armor or pack 4 or ultra rarity. Like, it might help a little bit, but again, I just think that a lot of those mechanics all in a little small survival map is doing a little bit too much. I'm not saying don't do it. I'm not saying I won't play it. I'm just saying it's just a lot going on for a small little cutout area of Van Dorn Farm, Exit 1-5, Cosmodrome, Mars. It'll be interesting. It'll help you get to higher rounds for sure, especially with those relics, but I don't know. I'm excited.
So this is round 100 on Cursed.
Okay, yeah. So to finish up, so we're getting Van Dorn Farm, Exit 1-5, Cosmodrome, and Mars. All of the rest of the maps will have support as they come out or in the future. But they did say that if you reach round 100 on each of the survival maps, you get bonus XP and Gobblegums, I'm assuming for each individual one. But if you do all 4, you'll get a Golden Spork Weapon Charm, which is obviously a throwback to Mob of the Dead. Could be for some foreshadowing for the next. I don't know if we're going to get the Golden Spork, but could be some foreshadowing for that supposed Mob of the Dead Nuketown hybrid. We're seeing another one of those things come back. That would be pretty sick. Obviously, I'm going to have to go for around 100 for all of these. I definitely want the Golden Spork Weapon Charm. I talked about it earlier. Nice to flex in the weapons, super cool. Not a lot, very few people are gonna have that on their weapons, so it's another just like small little rarity thing most people won't have. But yeah, for getting around 100 on all those, you do get some good XP and some rewards and a nice weapon charm, which some people might just be like, fuck the weapon charm, I don't really care. But I'm a real grinder. You're a real grinder. I could see us going for those.
Yeah, I'm actually glad. I've been waiting for the perfect time to do around 100 to get the Dark Ops, because I haven't done it yet, but now this is perfect timing. Will I do it on each map? Yeah, I'll probably give it a try. Save files exist, it's not the end of the world. The Golden Spork Weapon Charm is cool. I think another thing, too, this is like the episode of, like, a question Treyarch a little bit, but it's like they've kind of found their groove, like we were talking about earlier with the dev talk. But it's like, okay, you found something that you could start base and then the ceiling could be raised. Like, I don't think anybody really projected them to have this many rewards and have this much tied to the survival maps before the year started. Yep. People were obviously excited and hype about it, but you've kind of came around at every turn and made it more interesting and cool. And I think Cursed, they might not even have had that planned in from the get-go. I'm not sure how big of a fan I am of them putting Cursed on the survival maps, only because you have to weigh how many hours are in a day, how much dev time could go to each individual thing. So, am I a huge fan of Curse on the survival maps? I don't mind either way. I'm kind of indifferent. Probably won't play it, but I don't mind that people that ask for that are getting that as well. But it's like, okay, hey, you have all these different offerings from a survival map, along with the LTMs, along with the reloaded stuff, along with the, you know, main quests and the main maps and the main story and then directed mode and all this different stuff. Like, they said we would be eating good. We thought we would be eating good for this year. It's been true for the most part. You really can't say they lied about that. To a certain extent, I think they've come through on a lot of their promises, at least what it's looking like through 2 seasons.
Yeah, and like, you know, I guess it's all expectations, where some people I've seen on Twitter be like, oh, we were promised that we were going to be eating good, and I feel like it's super underwhelming so far, and da-da-da, and it's like...
Well, yeah, if you don't like Astra, that might be your opinion.
Okay, yeah, if you don't like Astra, that might be your opinion. However, you have to look at the overall...
But a lot of people love Astra. Not many people dislike Astra, in my opinion. So if you're a minority thinker there, which there's nothing wrong with that. We could all have our own opinions and go on with our lives. But it's like you came to that conclusion and you're on the wrong side of the majority there.
I would agree, and I think it comes back to them doubling down on their content plans at the start of 1.15 day, saying, hey, there's gonna be 5 DLC maps, there's gonna be, you know, survival maps, LTMs, all this stuff in between to kind of get yourself hyped up for and kind of fill those voids, which has definitely been better than last year up to this point. Obviously, there are a couple of weeks where we get some downtime, especially coming off of a holiday. Gotta remember that stuff, but yeah, I would like to know how long it actually is going to take, or how long it took to get all of these relics to function properly on the survival maps. If this is like a month project and this is what's keeping the LGM1 buff behind and the Oscar changes behind, then I'm going to start being like, come on, guys, come on, seriously. Like, we could have just slapped the base game mode without the relics and figured that out, or worked on that over time. I don't think we need to get all that knocked out of the way first, but... if this is like a week project where they're like, yeah, nothing's gonna get done for a week, but we're gonna go ahead and just launch all this stuff, then it's whatever. I don't really care. But if this is really taking like 3-4 weeks and this is holding up other updates and other fixes around the game, that's when I start to be like, is it really, are the relics for this really that important, or should we maybe just have it be standard survival? You know, at the end of the day, I'm happy for the relics. They're gonna get this because I don't know if you know this, but the last Astra relic is actually gun game. So like, if you just equip the tier 3 gun game relic, you don't have to have like the mimics, you don't have to have the mix. So they keep doing stuff like that. That could be sick. You know, you can play gun game on Van Dorn Farm or Exit 1.5 or Cosmodrome.
That's pretty cool.
Like, that's pretty sick. I think there's what was the other one? There was one other one that was like pretty just like more of a challenge than it really was. Like specifically designed for like, hey, I'm gonna boot this up and play this like Sticks and Stones, like some sort of like party mode essentially. So. Yeah, when I saw, you know, when you see stuff like that, it's like, okay, that makes a little bit more sense, and I'm a little more, you know, I'm here for it. But again, yeah, if this is like a month of dev time right in the heart of a down period, I don't know. But for the time being, I'm just gonna have some fun with it. I'm not gonna really knock it too much. I'm not gonna, like I said, I'm pretty, you and I are like 95% of the time indifferent to stuff. You know, we've had our moments with the Vaetherion boss fight, with Grief mode, with the LGM1 Wonder Weapon, but for like 95% of the time, it's just like, do I love it? I don't know. Do I hate it? I don't know. I'm kind of in the middle. I don't really care. It's just more content's good content. But to kind of finish up the Cursed talk, they released some stats for Cursed where they said that 33% of Zombies players have tried Cursed at least once. And like, I like that they've specified zombie players there and not just all in, because I feel like if you were talking about like the average, I feel like if you were talking about like all of the Black Ops 7 players, it would probably be closer to like 5%, just like how the Easter eggs always are. So I like that. Like 1/3 of Zombies players, I think it might be a little tad bit low, but then I don't know, how do you specify who is coming over and playing Zombies for the camo grind, who's coming over and playing for...
They probably just look at people's profile, and if you have the majority of your time played on Zombies, they probably classify you as a Zombies player. That's how I would look at it.
Yeah, I could get behind that. I could agree with how they were doing that. So 1/3 of zombies players, I think, is actually a little bit low, especially if it's not. I think it's like this now. I think you can just click on it in the menu. I don't think you have to beat an Easter egg for it. Obviously, it has to be that way because there's no way there's a 33% completion rate between both the maps where you get the point.
No, absolutely not.
I still think that's a little bit low. I think that having that option on the survival maps, that's where you'll see the curse numbers jump up, where you'll see a spike in that. Maybe that gets to like, I can see 50%. I can see half the player base for zombies has at least tried cursed. I still think 33% is a bit low, though. I don't think that's, they're saying not exactly rookie numbers, but when you're talking about the overall state of the zombies community, that means that only 1/3 of your player base got excited and has tried the classic mechanics. So it's like, how many out of the current day player base that are still playing zombies every single day or that bought the game for BO7, only 1/3 of your player base was really, a fanatic for the classic point system or spawning with a pistol, and I'm somebody that grew up, you and I grew up playing World at War, Black Ops 1, Black Ops 2. I love those mechanics. I love them to death. Yep. But, when I'm playing Cursed, I'm like, I kind of wish I could have spawned in with the weapon I wanted to. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of
times change, man.
Times have changed. I kind of like the ability to have that. And maybe, if they were in Cursed, have a loadout station, like I was saying, like a weapons locker, or even like the regular standard mode, have a weapons locker, spawn with a pistol. That's totally fine too. I'm not gonna sit there and be like, oh, I need to spawn in with the my weapon of choice. Like, that doesn't necessarily sound what I'm saying, but it's very interesting though. They've also said that 41% of all Cursed matches are being played in tier 3 difficulty. That surprises me, especially with how little of the relics have been found prior to, I'd say, like last week. I think we're still missing quite a few of the Astra ones, or a couple of the Astra ones, but that's honestly more of a good sign that half the Curse matches are being played in tier 3 because people actually want, pack 3 or pack 4 ultra rarity and golden armor plates all in one game. I can't. I know you can turn the mimics off, but like, there's not enough non-evasive relics currently that like I can't play without the mimics, and they're a game breaker I just can't stand them, especially on the lower rounds. I fucking hate seeing those things pop up. I get it's a troll. I get that eventually there will be relics where I don't have to have that, but for right now, I'm like, man, fuck these mimics. And then before I throw it back to you, the last thing is that the top 3 most used relics are the teddy bear, the lawyer's pen, and the dragon wings, all tier 1 relics. So it's not like they're taking away your self revive. I'm surprised actually of those 3. Before I swear I'll give it back to you, that the one that gives you a 4 perk limit isn't more popular. Like, I felt like that would be the one that people are like, this is it. Like, this is the classic 4 perks.
Yeah,
this is
that's what we want.
Here's the perk limit. This is what we want. I'm surprised that one's especially not higher than the lawyer's pen for the mimics. But that's just my 2 cents on everything. What for the curse stats here and the 3 most used relics? What jumps off the table most for you?
Okay, so I'm going to put on my business hat for a second, because I'm going to break it down from a fundamental standpoint, and then I have some questions that maybe someone in the comments is smarter than me, and me and you could walk through the math here. Okay, let's go one by one. 33% of zombie players have tried Cursed at least once. Okay, that is their key thing of the sentence. At least once.
I knew you were going to be the one that was going to start talking about this.
Because that means to me that so little people have actually played it twice, they couldn't even report that number. Or they wouldn't have said it like that. In my opinion, guys, this is all my opinion. Maybe the, like, no disrespect to anybody, but like maybe the intern that just like was getting stats, or maybe the research person was getting stats, they just spit these stats out and nobody looked at anything else. Could be totally wrong, but to me, that means not a lot of people are playing it.
They could have just left that last part out. They could have just straight up just said 33% of players have tried Cursed.
Yeah, and honestly, they could have, and it would have looked a lot better optically. Okay, this second point, and maybe I'm just being really dumb and just having a brain fart. I just do not believe this. So let's do some math here, me and you, MZC, and maybe you could think of it from a different angle. Okay, so to get the tier 1 relics, you have to play. All right, maybe I'm the kind of a cursed noob. Call me a cursed noob. Say Jeff is a cursed noob in the comments if I'm just losing my mind here. Can you do more than 1 relic per game?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, but to counter that, how many people do you think are actually doing that, especially the round 40 ones? Do you think people are really min-maxing like that, where they're getting multiple round 40 relics in one game?
Maybe now that all of them have been found on Astros, and that like most of them have been found on Astro. Well, the Astro Alarm was actually pretty hard, but I would say no, especially if you were following Curse from the beginning. You were definitely going in multiple matches. I was for sure, because the game wasn't like the portals would spawn and my game would crash and I'd have to restart the entire loop.
You like
again.
had
So
to
like
almost.
Yeah, back when it first came out. I've seen people getting them done all in one game, but like I don't know how you shift between tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 in the same.
All right, here's
so yeah, I'd say no. I'd say probably, unless you're starting at like tier 3 difficulty and then being like, I'm gonna just knock out all 9 of these, I would say no. I'd say the average.
How are you starting at tier 3 though?
Of people. So like,
if you don't have them unlocked, how are you starting at it? So okay, so here's my thing. Now here's my secondary question. Go down this rabbit hole with me. How many relics do you need active to be in tier 3? 5?
It depends on how many you already have unlocked. Like if you've got all the tier 3
you need
relics,
the bot.
Sure
you need
like
tier.
2, or if you can like pick and choose like 2 from the bottom. You can choose like 2 tier 1.
This is just a point system at the end of the day.
1 tier 3. Yeah, it's really just like it's like a star system. So let's say
okay,
like,
that's
it's
the only
difficulty to get into tier 1, 6 star. To
yeah,
get into tier 2,
okay.
9 star
That's
to
the
get into tier
only
3.
way that number actually makes sense, because I'm sitting here thinking this number makes no sense, because you have to play like 6 or 7 games. Even if you're a good player to me, okay, let's say you have to play 5 or 6 games to even be able to unlock tier 3. Right. So you're telling me that you're playing that many, and the bot, okay, none of this makes any sense to me, respectfully to Treyarch, and respectfully, like I said, maybe I'm just completely missing something, curse noob. So you're telling me the top 3 used relics are the bottom tier. The tier that cannot get you into tier 3 are the 3 most used relics. But in the same breath, you're telling me that 41% of the matches, which is almost half, are played in tier 3. But you have to play so many matches to unlock the relics to even get tier 3 active. But the most used relics are the tier 1 relics. That number is either makes no sense and is a complete lie, or you have such a small percentage of the people playing the game and they always boot into tier 3 so much that it skews that number.
I think
that number makes no sense to me.
I think it's that there's just the player base is already small.
You have like 15 people and they boot into tier 3 100 times a week. That's the only thing I could think of.
Probably a little more than 15, but yeah, I'd say definitely like small majority of people are booting into tier 3 for the, you know, all the benefits that you get from being in tier 3.
And we're BSing at this point. What does it really matter? I mean, it matters to them. It don't really matter. I don't give a rip. It don't matter to me if 100% of people, they went over here. It doesn't matter to me. I'm not sitting here crunching the numbers, but it's like, you have to look at your internal data set and be like, hey, this mode is like, out of 100 people, out of 100 zombies players. That's even to your point originally, like, even if it said 33% of Black Ops 7 players have tried Curse, that would be a more impressive number. But you're telling me out of 100 zombie players, only 33 of them have tried it once? I mean, for a mode where you just go, it's a different part of the menu. We're not even talking about, and yeah, sure, people are going to say, that's a 6x, 10x difference in the completion mode on the Easter eggs. Well, no shit, the Easter egg's going to take you 90 minutes. This is 2 button clicks away after the main quest gets solved by somebody else, by a 4 stack of YouTubers on launch day, and you're telling me that only 33 out of 100 people have booted into it once. And found that the Akita was on the wall, and oh my gosh, and classic points, and this and that. Like, I don't know. They could have kept these numbers to themselves. I don't really understand the point of this. I'm not going to bash them. Like, at the end of the day, we're just having fun with this segment, but it's like, I don't know. You kind of you lose a little bit of data and optics. You lose a little bit of it from me when they put stuff out like this, but it's better for them to be transparent than not. So I'm kind of all over the place with this, but we can move on.
Yeah, I think that like I kind of agree with you, because like I said, I'm not the biggest Cursed fanatic. I know there's people out there that will die on the hill for Cursed.
And we're not hating on them. That's fine. That's fine.
I'm just saying, I think
but it's like you're such a small part of the community. Like, if you're the loudest, actually more respect to you. But it's like, I don't know if you should have this much pull when 67 people, oh Jesus Christ, 67 people out of the player base haven't even loaded into this map, haven't even loaded into this mode once. How are you getting all this pull where it's just all magically on survival maps in season 2?
Yeah, I think that, you know, this might trigger Cursed fans, but it seems like to me that when we're pulling for, like, people had such a big problem last year with being like, oh, Liberty Falls is the most played zombies map of all time, and they leave it at that, and there's no, like, you know, statistical. This kind of feels like that to me, where it's like, okay, but like, why is it the most played map of all time?
Yeah, what's the context?
What's the context to this? I feel like this is kind of the same thing where, like, we're pulling at specific numbers to prop up the mode, which is like, I defended them last year for doing that, and I'm not going to go back on my word here and say, oh, look how stupid it is that they're pulling out these just arbitrary stats to defend Cursed so that they can continue to develop this. I said it was fine last year, you know? The more people playing zombies, the better. Like, I'm not going to switch my tune here. So, I mean, to their defense, I'd be trying to find everything too. Like, I still think Cursed is a good mode. I still think there's definitely room for some improvement here. I think that some of the relics should also have a buff as opposed to strictly debuffs outside of just getting your tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 benefits. It's a fresh game mode. I think it's great. I think that moving forward, this gives us a really good base to not only maybe merge some of these mechanics with the actual standard mode for 2028. Like, this is a great building block of a mode. But I mean,
this is a long play mode. You are right. They're looking at this mode for 5 years from now.
They need the best data that they can right now to say this is why we still need, you know, money to develop these things. I think it was the same thing last year. I'm sure during BO6's development, people were like, oh, why are the Easter egg numbers, you know, down? That's why they kept hammering with Directed, being like, oh, see, they've jumped from 4% to 8%. Like, we need more money for whatever you got to fucking put on a piece of paper to go to the Activision board and say, we want more money to develop this mode. Fine. I'm fine with that. Zombies has been the most consistent part of the last 2 years. It's the only reason I feel like that this game isn't completely just tanked PR, because you still have a lot of the zombies community at minimum interested in the new releases and the LTMs and stuff. We've seen that so far. It's yet to be seen if that'll hold up throughout the year, but I feel like zombies has been the best. And then I'm just, you know, I'm not being biased. We play all the other modes. I feel like zombies has been the best, most consistent part of the last.
It's definitely the best mode last year, no doubt about it. And it's better this year, so.
Absolutely. So going forward, whatever stats you have to take to Activision PR and the board to say, more money for Easter eggs, more money for Cursed developments. Who knows?
It's more money in general.
You know, dude, maybe they even sat there and before BO6 were like, hey, we want to go back to some of the older mechanics that we had back in Black Ops 3, and Activision said, no, you know, we had the most playtime in Cold War, or whatever stats that they saw in Cold War. Like, oh, it's the most casual friendly. We want you to stick to that. Okay. So then Black Ops 6 happens, and they say, we need more money for Easter eggs and hardcore Easter eggs because the fans are clamoring for it. And look, the Easter egg completion rate percentage is up from you know, Cold War from 4 to 8. So obviously the players can handle it. They want more. And they said, okay, fine. This could be the exact same thing where they're like, see, look, we've got all these, you know, different stats towards Curse where we want to merge some of these. I don't know that this is a fact at all. I'm just giving them the benefit of the doubt. I'm just playing, you know, I'm LARPing what I would do if I was in their shoes going to pitch for more money.
Right.
So it's like, I'm not going to, you know, destroy him for this, even though I'm not a Cursed mega fan. Doesn't mean it doesn't have a place in the game mode. I'm gonna love the survival maps in Curse because that's what I'm most interested in, is just that tier 1, tier 0 based experience of having the class mechanics. It does play differently, it gives you that different shake up, and maybe this is just, again, a building block mode for 5 years down the line when we've got 2029 zombies, 20th anniversary, and maybe Chronicles 2 at some point. So it's not just a complete modern zombies, don't bring these maps back on these types of arguments, stuff like that. So it'll be interesting to see. I think when you look at it from that context, it kind of, you know, makes a little more sense. But yeah, I totally, like, I agree. And
but even take this real quick here, but even take this to last year. So, like, all right, here's your 2 options from last year. And to me, like, let's take this from an anecdotal experience. Like, you're a content creator and I see the behind the scenes of a content creation, and PAP was up and running at this point. You're telling me that 33% of people didn't at least try Grief once? I think that the numbers are probably comparable, and Grief died on the shelf in about 5 minutes. So what the metrics are, let's just say the metrics are the same. but your support is getting increased for one and decreased for the other. When think about our experience with grief, I feel like we had a lot more people on Perkaholics Anonymous, on Twitter, on YouTube that were more interested in grief and talked about grief more when it first came out than Curse this year. Maybe other people have had different experiences. I'm just, yeah, people were interested in grief and then it kind of died. I think the numbers were probably the similar, if not better, for grief. Option 1 or option 2, the numbers were so bad for grief they couldn't even really release them. But I really find it hard to believe that only 10% of people tried grief at least once. When grief came out, it was hot. There was a lot of hype. People were interested for it. They obviously wanted custom private lobbies and stuff like that. Yeah, there was a bunch of different stuff there, but it's like, I don't know, it just seems like you kind of 12 months ago, if this was grief, that's dying on the shelf in 5 minutes if these are the same numbers, from my opinion, but we can move on.
Hear me out before we move on to this last point. We'll get there. What about grief coming to BO7 with cursed abilities? And you can use the relics, so you can limit perks, you can do no self revives, you can do gun game. Like, imagine having a custom match where you can just load, like, straight up just choose, like,
I'm interested.
Debuffs. It'd be interesting for like 1v1s, 2v2s, 3v3s. Like, I think that would give it a lot of playability. I think it would give
us private lobbies.
You need the private lobbies for that, yeah, 100%. But that would give us kind of like the ability to go and do like a tournament or a league like we wanted to do, stuff like that, and kind of have some like, here are the rules.
And the survival maps are built for that too.
Relics, absolutely, 100%.
The grief maps last year were basically survival maps in Black Ops 6. If you think about it, they might have been just testing that as a prototype 1 year early.
Yep.
That's a good idea.
We'll see what happens there. Hopefully, honestly, if they do bring grief back, which I think they should, I think that's really just a control V mode with a few more hoops and quality of life changes added to it. But another thing that they were testing last year is coming back for this year, and it's our last point before the community corner, is the starting room challenge is coming back, and it's now a permanent game mode that will never go away, which was probably the biggest complaint for most fans of Black Ops 6 when they were playing this mode last year, is that it was only an LTM. Obviously, they've confirmed that you'll have only what spawns naturally in each starting room, so I'm assuming like Wonder Fizz on Janus Towers will be there, you'll have Quick Revive, you'll have the Warden that's on the wall there, and then I think the Cap is on the wall too, up by the Wonder Fizz, and that's it. But but on that map you could use like let's say your toxic growth to grow the plants. I'm assuming those will still be there, so you can maybe try and get some perks and some things. So that'll be like a fun challenge there. Astral Valorum is probably going to be a lot harder with only a wall weapon, quick revive, no traps. Maybe you get the box too, I guess. So I guess you can survive a little bit longer if you get the wonder weapon from the box there. But again, the highlights here are starting room challenge is back. I thought that was one of the best parts one of the best modes from last year, the best LTM they released actually. It was really fun, especially on like Terminus and the harder map to try to get to 30. And yeah, good that we're getting a permanent mode here, so this will never go away, and you can play this pretty much forever.
Yeah, I mean, good feedback loop. You test a bunch of LTMs throughout the years, and I think the consensus fan favorite was the starting room only challenge. It was challenging, and there was good rewards, and it was something different to break up the monotony of the game. So, good job, points to Treyarch for the feedback loop. Take the top thing from the community and let's make it permanent. I love it.
Here for it. Can't wait to see what the rest of the maps are too. So we're getting 4,
right?
Yeah, like 4 more DLC maps. So we'll get 4 more starting room challenges too. So again,
yeah, it's a lot more stuff.
Is good content. I think before we get to the community, the last thing I have to say here is like, more content is good content. I'm loving what we're getting here, but they need to clean up the fucking menu. Like, dude, every time I boot up this game,
bro, the menu is like, bad. You see people complain about it too, and they're right.
Dude, it's like standard, survival, cursed survival is gonna be there. The LTM, all these different things, and I'm like, dude, half the time I'm trying to boot something, I can't even find what I'm looking for. I mean, I can't. It's really not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things, but like the menu is very cluttered with content. I guess a good problem to have, but I've been kind of joking and being like, dude, we gotta get some minimalization going on here, whether that's breaking up like cursed into a completely different tab or standard and survival being different, like something like that, dude, just needs to be broken up because it's getting just a little bit messy. Nothing crazy. It's not as bad as the Modern Warfare 2, Modern Warfare 3 HUDs and the menus over there, but we got a lot of content, which is good, but it's starting to like pick up your room, dude. Make the fucking bed.
I agree with you.
All right, community corner time. Let's knock these out.
All right, let's do it. Shout out to the community corner. We appreciate every single one of you who comment and respond, and interact with MZC on X. To kick it off, let's give a little context on what MZC said over there for this week's post. He said, "What are your thoughts on Season 2 for Zombies and Call of Duty Black Ops 7? Mars and Curse Survival, Spawn Room Challenge, Helltown, Season 2 Reloaded, etc. Leave your thoughts below to be featured in tomorrow's Community Corner of Perkaholics Anonymous podcast." Basically everything we've talked about today, guys. Kicking it off with the absolute GOAT, stud of a guy, big fan and friend of the channel. Handsome, extremely handsome. Chad of Duty says, "I think it is great that they were able to prioritize Curse Survival and get it out by season launch. That, in addition to various new modes, should hold people over until DLC 2 at mid-season. I still hope the new map surprises us more than leaks have led us to expect. I don't mind subtle nods to Nuketown or Alpha Omega like Ashes does with a few POIs inspired by Transit, but there needs to be a new or unique aspect of gameplay that drives people to jump in and play. Whether it be map unique rewards via side quests, a brand new mechanic, a crafting system, whatever, I want to see Treyarch create more experimentally and take more risks moving forward, especially with zombies. Given how long it might be before their next title, now is the time to leave everything on the table with post-launch." Basically agree with everything here. Chad brings up a lot of good points, speaks and types eloquently and portrays his points in a very in-depth and high-level manner. I'm going to take my opinion and my talking point with that last part that he brings up. I think you're at the point where, and I even saw somebody say this on X the other day, I can't remember who, and I do apologize if it's somebody who does watch the show, because I do have a lot of mutuals over there watch Perkaholics Anonymous, but they said that the maps and like the uniqueness and stuff is kind of getting drowned out, and I think they even reference like there being TED tasks, and that kind of takes away from the in-game like experience and atmosphere, and how each map you know back in the good old days used to have its own unique aura and feel and atmosphere and vibe and experience. I do agree with Chad, and I do agree with a lot of people where it's like, you have the formula down, guys. We know that you're gonna, okay, keep all the free power-ups, nobody complains about that. The unique side eggs for Ashes of the Damned, I think, had a leg up for anything that we saw in Astra Malorum, and maybe we don't even know about everything on Astra Malorum, but keep going with that. Keep going with something that makes the map unique, where it's like, hey, why am I, instead of the surface level stuff, why am I loading into Astra Malorum? Is there something cool that I could get on Astra Malorum that makes the experience worth it, along with everything else that you're getting from the surface level too? Is there an equipment? Is there a lethal? Is there something that's of extra value where you could hop in and be like, I really want to use this, and it's not the wonder weapon. It's not a perk that just happens to be on the map where you don't have to wait for Wonder Fizz, whatever it may be. You need to keep going with stuff like that, where this map draws intrigue and draws it into the next level and the next development of the game. And moving forward, earlier up into his point, I agree. The unique POIs need to be there. It cannot just be a reskin. It cannot just be this. If you have some nods, if you have some callbacks to Alpha Omega, Nuketown, whatever it may be, that's fine. But have it be its own unique identity. Have it be its own experience that we could get our hands on.
I think we're more likely to see sort of like a hybrid between maybe, and again, this is just all speculating. Like, Mob of the Dead has like nothing confirmed for this other than the fact that we're just in hell and the Blundergrat's rumored to return. But even if it is like a Mob of the Dead Alpha Omega hybrid, I don't care. That's new. Like nobody shit on Revelations for it just being literally cut out POIs of different areas and zombies and slapped together for one big recycling bin map, even though I think that was kind of a complaint back in the day. But I totally agree with you, especially with the lethal and tactical idea there. Like, where are the little Arnies? Not like specifically
exactly.
Little Arnies, but like, where are the little Arnies? Where are the homunculus? Where are the
G-strikes?
Yeah,
yes,
exactly.
yes.
Like, where are the Thunder Punch? Like, that kind of stuff is what's really missing from these maps, because they've got the maps.
And you lost a lot of goodwill in Reckoning having the Etherblade time gated. That could have been something where you could have built on, and respectfully, you screwed that up. So let's wake up and get back to it, in my opinion.
I was going to I've talked about this before, and I think Afterlife mentioned this in one of the episodes we did with him. The Etherblade in itself is a really good idea. We all wanted that to return from MWZ. We were asking for it to be a side Easter egg, since pretty much the tomb. And yeah, it came out and it just didn't seem like it was tuned for round based. It kind of just seems like, here, damn, shut the fuck up, take it kind of thing. But the quest to get it, I think, is really what was a bigger letdown than the Etherblade itself, because you look at Mob of the Dead, where you're specifically you know, traversing the map. The first time you play Mob of the Dead, you're going to naturally, as long as you get past the starting room, like you're gonna run into one of the Hellhounds or the Cerberus on the wall. You come in, you feed them, you go, okay, what am I doing here? You know, what is this gonna grant me? What am I doing here? I'm advancing the map, but like, you know, this is the second time, and now I'm up in, you know, I've gone from the cell block down to the docks, but here's another one. So like, what am I gonna get from this? You're almost like learning the lore, you're learning the map, you're kind of experiencing it for yourself, and then after the third one, you realize, hey, this unlocks a tomahawk, right? And that's kind of giving the map some uniqueness, a different vibe, its own gameplay system right there, and a unique equipment that you can only get on that map. Oh, and when you upgrade it, the upgrade quest isn't necessarily the most intuitive upgrade quest ever. It's get, you know, whatever, 30 kills on the bridge or however many kills on the bridge, so you hear a noise, come back, you throw it in the pit of fire, and that's it. And then it respawns, you go into Afterlife, you pick it up in Afterlife, and you get it. Like, that is, again, using the gameplay mechanics there with Afterlife, but I mean, dude, getting some kills with it on the Golden Gate Bridge and throwing it in the lava pit isn't exactly the most mind-blowing quest of all time, but it's still using map unique aspects there to advance your already map specific equipment. With the Reckoning, it's like you could have put that quest for the Ether Blade on any of the other Black Ops 6 maps, and it still would have made the same amount of sense it made for the Reckoning. Other than Richthofen's, you know, like other than Richthofen's safe, fair. Like that part, you could have done something really cool with that and been like, oh, this is, you know, the director's safe where he's got these brain scans of Sam and this Ether Blade. Like, what's the quest to get that? We have to run around and kill an Uberklaus and, you know, do a lockdown.
It made so little sense for that map, you couldn't even get it when the map released.
Exactly. It was literally just something that was like shoehorned in there, where it was a couple of paintings you find around the map, place them on the wall, and then use an RCXD to blow up some crystals. Really. Like it's just not. That was a quest just to be a quest and to have something in the map to get you to the point of getting the Ether Blade. And again, I'm going to sound like a crybaby bitch because all last year, I want the Ether Blade. I want the Ether Blade to be so good for this game. Oh, we need the Ether Blade. And they give it to us, and it's like, you know, right?
Justified, though. Definition of a fetch quest.
But, yeah, hopefully, maybe throughout the rest of this year, if the Arnie's come back at some point, or the Homunculus, or, you know, the Hell's Retriever in the next map or something, there's at least, like, a good side quest for it. So yeah, Chad, I totally agree with you. I think that goes a long way for the unique aspects of gameplay outside of just something like Tessie. Like, I guess to give them their flowers, Tessie was really, really good for Ashes of the Damned. That is a great unique feature for the map, and it's something that at launch people were like, oh, how's this gonna play? It's just basically Warzone. It's just big MWZ mechanic right here, and it actually plays really, really well, and it fits the gimmick and the vibe of the map, and it kind of, you know, really solidifies Ashes of the Damned as a unique experience that you can come back to over time and play over and over again and have, you know, a unique, fun experience that separates itself from the BO6 maps and Astra Malorum. But if we keep getting maps like Astra Malorum, where it's like, yeah, it's a great atmosphere, it's a good map in my opinion, but what is separating this from the other maps here when it's really just setting, Easter egg, and lore? It's like that they're like right there. They're like on the cusp of getting back to where they were with BO4 and BO3. They just need to take that extra jump with the those side Easter eggs and get back to that level of stuff. But yeah, I totally agree with you and Chad.
Absolutely great point, great comment, Chad. Moving along, Chris Madrid says, this is a good drop to hold me over until the new map drops and as Season 2 Reloaded. I've been wanting to play on Mars and just survive, and Curse Survival is really going to bring back nostalgia for old survival from BO2. Yeah, I think this is enough to hold people over for not having a DLC 2 ready right for Season 2 launch. I agree with that. I think Mars, like you said earlier in the episode, will be probably the most played survival map and might be the most played survival map throughout the duration of this game, so I totally agree.
I want to hit on again. This is a good update for zombies. Like, is this really going to be like the most captivating viewership?
Underrated is the word.
High type of update. Like, no. And I feel like, and I'm not going to call anything personally here. It's not meant to be that way, but you can tell the different mentality between the YouTubers and the average players here, because a lot of the YouTubers are like, oh, no map until Season 2 Reloaded, right? Like, oh, you know, which I totally understand. I'm on the same exact, I'm a fucking content creator too. Like, it would have been nice to get a nice big bump here in viewership and content in the first week of the month, or at the end of this month, or, you know, Season 2 Reloaded when that comes out. But at the same time, if you're looking at it from a fan's perspective, or you're just looking at it from an average, you know, everyday player's perspective, you're getting, you know, a new survival map, which is the most unique survival map we're gonna get. It's probably the best one we're gonna get too, at least for a good while here. You're getting those, like he said, BO2 type survival maps with Cursed coming to all the previous ones. So that'll just give you the ability to spawn with a pistol, kind of have that old point system build up, which will be fun. And yeah, you get spawn room challenge too, and like that's enough content to play. As long as you don't play 10, 12 hours a day and just burn yourself out in the first couple of days, that's enough content to last a couple of weeks. Like, it's not like they're saying, oh, it's going to be another month and a half wait until DLC 2. It's probably going to be like 3.5, maybe a month at the most. So, Chris, I completely agree with you. I think the best part about this, though, and I'll keep hammering this, is that Mars survival map, because it takes 70% of the Easter. Like it does take like 45 minutes just to get to Mars. It'll be fun to just boot up there and play right out of the gates. So I'm kind of in the same boat there.
Definitely. Hunter of Reach says the survival maps need to be more unique. The community is tripping with this game. IMO, this is the best COD since Black Ops 4, and depending how the year goes, could be the best since Black Ops 3. Also, now that we have 15 relics of all negative effects, it would be cool to get some positive relic. Yeah, I mean, I think your consensus around this good. I mean, you said it earlier in the show. It's like the only thing saving the PR of this game is the zombies community. Like, this is a solid 8 out of 10 zombies experience. I think a lot of people would go there. I know that's where I'm at right now. Clear upgrade from Black Ops 6. Probably the most innovation that we've seen from like a Black Ops 4 or a Black Ops 3 style game. And obviously the content is through the roof. So all signs point in a good direction there. The positive relics, I don't think that's their MO, because you get the positives from having a combination of the negatives equipped. If that makes sense, I understand where you're coming from. I think that's the thing too. Like, I think they put this game mode out there where it's like, okay, if you wanted to do a year two of support from this from Treyarch, they could literally update Cursed. They could give us like a Chronicles 2.0 and update Cursed, and that would be enough to hold people over for another 12 months. Whether it's relics are going to get changed like this or add more, whatever it may be. So they have a lot of options with Cursed. I think you will see some differentiation in the future, but all around good points from Hunter of Reach for sure.
Yeah, I wanted to include this comment just because I feel like it was a lot different from the other ones in the sense that like it didn't just take the whole here's how I feel about season 2 in general approach. It was kind of like it was a different type of comment, and I really appreciated that. This first point, the survival maps need to be more unique. I think something like Mars is very unique. Like, we're gonna get Nuketown if that has unique, or I'm assuming we're gonna get Nuketown reportedly, supposedly, maybe. If that has like the OG Nuketown mechanics, I think again that's something where that kind of adds in a little more uniqueness. I get the whole point of the survival maps is supposed to be just having smaller areas that you can boot up and level grind and camo grind and weapon grind. You don't have to, spend 45 minutes setting up on Ashes of the Damned or even Astra Malorum, setting up the Easter egg or just getting to the Mars takes you a good amount of time to get there. And I won't walk my stance back from last year again. Like last year, I was hammering for survival maps, saying the exact same thing. Just wall off some areas, give us this, and they've done that, and I really appreciate it as far as they've gone with it. But just to take it that one extra step further, I still think that the unique wonder weapons would have been a big hit here to really keep the player base interest a little bit higher and make those survival maps worth coming back to in the gap years. Now again, obviously it's not looking like that's going to happen this year. Unless we get a Chronicles 2, I'd be shocked if that ever got updated into this game. But like, let's say they continue with these survival maps moving forward into the future. That's where I think that, like, let's say in 2028, 2029, if they do that again, that'd be your opportunity to like really solidify survival maps now being a core experience to every zombies game, by including like a map specific wonder weapon that, don't waste 2 months making a unique one, right? Just go ahead and copy and paste a wonder waff or a jet gun, something like that. I've talked about that ad nauseum. I do agree community is tripping with this game overall. I think the zombies community is fine for the most part. I think there is like that subsect of people that are just like, this needs to be 2010, this needs to be 2015.
Yeah, you're not going to convince those people.
You're never going to convince those people unless it's just a straight up remaster, but then they'll still be like, oh, it just doesn't feel the same. But yeah, I like the last part too with the positive relic boosts. I think that's totally something they should look into. I think my best advice for Cursed moving forward, obviously it's probably, again, too late this year, maybe next time they add Cursed and it comes around. I think, obviously the buffs are your tier 1, tier 2, tier 3 bonuses that you get, but I think it would have been cool to see like, okay, let's say the relic for the dragon wings, you have your debuff, but then it also has a buff where it's like all jump pads are free. Like, that calls back to the original dragon wings that were in Gorod Krovi, where once you had those set of wings and you acquired it, you could fly any of the dragons for free without spending the points to use that, or you could just immediately fast travel to the hatchery from the original Dragon Command location. So again, that would have been a cool buff to something where it's like not necessarily 20% damage increase, but it's just a small little thing that gives you a little bonus around the map. Like you got fast travels, I'm assuming, for the rest of the year too, so it could apply to any map. But you know, you could have used those on Ashes of the Damned for sure, especially in Cursed where points are a commodity. And then in Ashes of the Damned, the fast travels are a little less impactful, but there is still the one from the Pack-a-Punch area back to spawn. So I definitely agree with you there. I think that even if it was just some like minuscule positive effects, could have been cool.
Yeah, for sure. Moving along to last but not least comment of Perkaholics Anonymous Podcast, episode 25's Community Corner. We got a two-parter here from Swifty Difty. He says, it's going to be one of the better seasons for zombies this time around. Lots of fun stuff to do in Curse Survival. I'm hoping that the rewards will be worth it and offer more than an Ultra Gum, as it doesn't feel as awarding. Not sure what rewards it could be, maybe a camo. The spawn room challenge, depending on what it offers, will most likely be a one-time play on each map and never play again. It was okay in Black Ops 6 and offered a great challenge, especially Terminus. Very optimistic for the season. Looking forward to DLC 2. Thumbs up. He makes a good point with the starting room. I think that a lot of people didn't like the time gate on it, so they're just gonna go ahead and make it permanent. My suggestion that we were talking about earlier that I just have kind of thought of right now with the menu is I would love a toggle to be able to hide stuff on the menu. So if I beat Astra starting room only challenge, there should be like a, it should be some button that's not assigned to anything on the menu where it toggles it and it hides it and it kind of takes it away. And then there's like a place where you could look at the hidden tab, like you could look at your hidden tab, or you could just unhide everything all at once. That would be kind of interesting as far as management moving forward, because it is going to get cluttered. I don't know. I'm fine with the rewards. I think the rewards for the round 100 stuff will be interesting. They haven't really, is anything confirmed for that? I think people will be surprised with what those rewards look like. I mean, round 100's, no joke. I mean, how many people, what percentage of people in the community actually get to round 100 on some of these maps? So I think we just have to wait and see on the rewards, but I think they're doing a good job with it. I could see why, some people like Swifty Difty might think that, there could be things to be desired, but I like the rewards for the round 50 on the survivals and, leading up to it and stuff like that. I think it's been a cool addition to this year, but I understand where they're coming from too.
I think so too, and I think for around 100 it won't just be Perkaholic, right? I think it'll be maybe like a whole pack, or at least like a 5 or a 6 pack like we saw last year.
Might be a skin,
but it could be okay, so
the Easter eggs are skins. I mean, different. I mean, I would say round 100 is harder than some eggs.
Well, again, you're getting the golden spork weapon charm for all 4, so like I'm guessing they're not going to do individual rewards then outside of just the gobblegum packs and XP. I think for around 100 on each cursed map, especially for having cursed unlocked, like to really get people to go for that, I think you need to do like a 1100 COD point gobblegum pack for like 3 of the ultras for each, but like they're not going to do that. I don't think. I think it'll probably just be like a 1 ultra, 2 legendary, like a Perkaholic, an Armageddon, a Perkaholic, 2 Armageddons, and then like some of your better blue and purple ones in like a mini pack like they had for some of those ones last year. I would like to see that be repeated though. Like if you're gonna go for around 100 multiple times, I think you should be able to earn that gobblegum pack 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe like up to 5 times would be nice, because like who's really gonna sit there for the round 500s, right? But yeah, I don't know if they'll do a camo. Maybe for like a super reward if you hit all those at some point during the game, but I just don't see it coming for this. And then yeah, I appreciate the optimistic outlook, and I think that's where the community sits right now, is like everyone's kind of just like, yeah, it's a down period, I'm not really invested, I'm playing other games or I got other stuff going on, I'm not too into the grind, which is, I want to just like, it's totally fine to be there, like as a content creator, I gotta play this every day. I'm not saying I hate it, I enjoy COD very much, I love what I do, but every zombies game and every Call of Duty game ever has had these like high and low periods. We talked about this last year. That's just the name of the game. That's the name of live service, and I think that this year they're plugging the holes as good as they've ever done before. So, I can commend them for it, and that's why I'm not tripping about like, oh, we're not getting another map until end of February. Like, it's a couple weeks away, and the stuff that we're getting is enough to keep us on our toes and keep us locked in for a couple weeks. And if not, cool. You know, I've seen a lot of people also say, there were a lot of comments on this being like, you know, not a big fan of Cursed, or, you know, not really interested in coming back for survival maps. I'll be back for, you know, DLC 2, or I'll be back at the reloaded period, which is actually good. It's better than people saying, I hate the game, I'm not playing anymore, uninstall, right? Like, it's, people are still at least locked in the main story, people are still locked in the main maps, and I think that that's a pretty decent place to be at. You know, your hardcore fans are going to be here all year, play everything that comes out, where your more average audience is at least being like, I'll be back, but, you know, for right now, I'm playing Arc Raiders, or I'm playing Minecraft, or 2K, or whatever game of choice you're playing. Right. Maybe you're not playing games, so I think they're in a good spot. I'm happy with where they're at. Update's gonna be fun. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Well, a lot of good stuff today on episode 25. Already a quarter of the way to 100 episodes in. Been a good time. Been absolutely amazing. Appreciate every single one of your guys' support out there who tunes into the episode, who wants to see more, who's joining and being a part of the Perkaholics membership tier. We appreciate every single one of you. MZC, anything else here before we sign off?
Better get ready for some crash outs, Perkaholics. I know I'm gonna have a couple of crash outs here on Haven's Hummer, so I'm excited.
Join now to see Resurgence games. Join now for PAP After Dark. Let us catch us raging out. That's it. Where'd he go?
Did you end?
No, I didn't do the outro.
Well, do the outro. I'm leaving this in. Do the outro. Get do the outro.
Buddy, just you have your own outro that I've adapted, and we've adapted on the show. And Buddy just thought I was going to cut it without saying. All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Perkaholics Anonymous Podcast, episode 25. Appreciate every single one of you. Make sure you're staying safe. Make sure you're staying hydrated, and we'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.